up here on stage, the majority of you, when I say the word failure or defeat, you will immediately correlate it with negative. But if we can change that perspective, we can get you guys to walk out that door and start embracing failure. And start embracing the defeats, because I promise you, the times where you get your butt kicked, the times where that goal doesn't get hit, that time where you fail on a business plan or whatever it may be, that is where the most personal growth comes from.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. How we doing? I was looking for the unmute button. Hold on, let me turn this light off. So super glad to be back here. This is round 2. For those of you that don't know, our first session, my computer totally froze, and so I was frozen for half of it. So Unfrozen Nick is back to share some stories. Who's up for it? Thumbs up here. Thumbs up here. We're good in the chat? Awesome. So has anyone ever watched a movie before and then really liked that movie, and then they watch that movie again and they notice something different about that movie because they watched it a second time? Has anyone ever been there? Well, if you heard me a couple days ago, this is exactly how it's going to go. I'm going to share some similar stories, but it's going to go deeper in the subconscious level because you're listening it to the second time. So you up for taking the journey? We good? Awesome. Perfect. So to give a little context of why Nick was born like this, I'm 24 years old. And in 1996, my parents went in for a late ultrasound. They went in for a late ultrasound and they brought the baby up on the screen. And suddenly the doctor started, saying, there's something extremely wrong. And my parents said, what's wrong? I said, well, from the looks of it, it doesn't look like your baby's limbs are being developed. It looks like he's missing his arms, his legs, and his face might be messed up. And in that moment, the doctors classified me with Hanhart Syndrome. And what Hanhart Syndrome is a super rare genetic disorder that either leaves the babies with undeveloped limbs or undeveloped organs. And so at the time of my birth in 1996, I was the 12th baby in medical history that they've ever seen this happen to. And out of the 12, 8 of those babies have passed away due to undeveloped organs. And so the babies are born and they can't breathe on their own, they can't eat on their own, and they later on pass away. And so when the doctors told my parents that I had a 30% chance to live, my parents made a massive promise to each other. And that promise was that they were going to focus on the 30% of me living rather than the 70% chance of me dying. The reason being, if you have a pen, I want you to write this down. Focusing on the negative will never serve you. Can we agree with a show of hands that focus is extremely important? Where you put your energy is where the energy is going to flow, right? Whether you're focused on the negative, whether you're focused on the positive. Listen, what's not right in your life is always available to focus on. But what's right in your life is also always available to focus on. We choose where we focus. And so real quick, who's up for playing a little focus game? Anyone up for it? Because we're gonna play it, whether you raise your hand or not. I'm gonna put you through this little focus evaluation. So the questions, I'm gonna ask basically like 3 questions. And in the chat, I want you to just type your answers. It's not gonna be long answers, just quick answers. And so there's no right or wrong answer. This is just an evaluation to see where your focus is. And so the first question is, in your life, the majority of the time, do you tend to focus on the things that you have or the things that you don't have? So we'll drop them in the chat. Don't have, both, right? Don't have, both. Awesome. Appreciate you guys and girls playing full out. Don't have, right? Listen, in this chat, I see a lot of don't haves. And maybe the don't haves, maybe we're focusing on things that we want to achieve that we don't have yet. Who's there? Who's focusing on things that they want and we don't necessarily have yet, right? But if we continuously focus on the things that we don't have in a negative way, that's only going to put us in a negative state. Do we see that? Just like me, a man with no legs and one arm. If every single day I woke up and focused on the fact that I'd never become a professional soccer player, I'd have a very low quality of life, right? So I tend to focus on my strengths. I tend to focus on my unique abilities, and I tend to focus on the things that I can do, right? And so the next question is, in your life, do you tend to focus on the things that you can control or the things that you can't control? Let's see in the chat. The things that you can't control or the things that you can control? We got a lot of boths, things I can control, right? And like I said, there's no right or wrong answer. This is just to see where your focus is at. Both, yeah. Flooding in the chat. Now, with a show of hands, would you agree that in life there's a lot of things that we can't control? Yes or no? Right? There's a lot of things we can't control. The weather, the things going on in the world. But the couple things, the most important things that we can control is the way that you and I show up, the content that we're consuming on a day-to-day basis, and the people that we're surrounding ourselves with. If you agree, throw your hand up, right? Those are the things we can't control. Listen, there's a lot of things that we can't control, so let's focus on the things that we can control. Awesome. And then the last question for this little focus evaluation is, do you spend the majority of your time focusing on the past, the present, or the future? And remember, there's no right or wrong answer. We're just seeing where our focus is at. All three, yeah. Past, future, present. Awesome. You guys are great. All three, yeah, absolutely. How many people look towards the past a lot with a show of hands? Just curious. Okay, yeah. Who's up for the present? Who's up for focusing on the present? Anyone there? Okay. What about the future? Who's always looking to the future? We're trying to achieve things. I know there's some achievers in here, right? We're always trying to achieve things. Absolutely. And so for those that constantly look in the past, maybe when you look in the past, it's negative. Let me give you an example. Say you're driving in your car and you're always looking to the rear view mirror. What's going to happen? Quick in the chat. If you're driving in your car and you always look in the rear view mirror, what's going to happen? Right? Crash, accident, you're going to crash. And so if you find yourself constantly going to the past to focus on the negative, I want to let you know from a brother to a brother or a brother to a sister that your past doesn't define you. I want you to write that down. Your past does not define you. But the very actions you do in this very moment do. Do we see that? Yes or no? Your past is over. It's done with, right? So whether you think you didn't have the right upbringing, maybe your childhood wasn't the best, maybe you didn't have the most resources, that's in the past. But the decision that we make in this very moment, that's what's going to dictate our future, right? And so from an early age, right now I'm going to give you the two most valuable skills that my parents engraved in me at an early age. And so at an early age, from the most youngest I can remember, my parents sat me down and they said, Nick, you're born with no legs and one arm, and this ain't gonna change. And the world out there, it's not gonna change either. You're going to have to adapt to the world, right? And so from an early age, my parents sat me down in the most polite way and they said, Nick, here's your clothes, figure it out. And, you know, they would give me verbal suggestions, but they never dress me. They would never dress me and do it for me. And so I try to put my shirt on and I'd fall on my face and I get back up and I get so angry. Why can't you just dress me? What are you doing here? What are you trying to teach me? And then I finally was able to put my clothes on. And then my next challenge came. My parents put me in my high chair and they put a spoon there with some Cheerios and said, you know what time it is. Figure out how to feed yourself. And I finally, over falling on my face over and over again, I was able to feed myself. So what were my parents teaching me? Well, the first thing that my parents engraved in me at an early age was they got me comfortable in uncomfortable situations. And to be honest, they got me comfortable with failure. You see, to be fully honest, failure is energy draining. Failure is tough. It kind of puts us on our butt sometimes, unless you have the right relationship with failure. Now, I don't know about you, but in my life, failure is a friend. Failure is someone I watch Netflix with. We hang out on the weekends because I know on the other side of failure, massive personal growth is going to be taking place, right? And so if you can develop a relationship with failure, that you realize failure is a friend rather than a foe, then you embrace the hard things, you embrace the challenges, you embrace the obstacles, which then leads to more personal growth. And I'll prove it to you. In the chat, do you learn more from your wins or do you learn more from your losses? Quick, let's see. Losses, right? Who raised your hand that you learn more from losses? We learn more from the times where we fall on our face, right? And so, you know, the fact is the majority of people, they run from problems, they run from opportunities, and they run from obstacles. But what if we adopted the mindset of every time that a problem or an obstacle occurred, that was your sign that you were moving in the right direction? Who's up for that? Every time a problem or an obstacle occurs, that is your signal that you are moving in the right direction. Because if you are complacent, if you aren't doing anything, no problems are going to come into your life. Do we agree with that? Right? And so maybe we adopt this mindset that failure is a friend. Failure is my classroom. Failure is where I'm going to learn and evolve as a human being. And so that's the first thing, is evaluating our relationship with failure. And then the second thing that my parents engraved in me at an early age is by forcing me to figure out how to do things. They got my brain in the habit of focusing on the solution rather than the problem. Massively important skill, being solution oriented, right? And I want you to write this down. Our problems need energy to live. Our problems need energy to live. Nick, what do you mean by that? Well, has anyone ever had a problem in their life? And it could be a small problem. And then you focused all your energy on the problem and you made it a way bigger problem than what it was in the beginning. Has anyone ever been there? Right? As humans, we make our problems way bigger than what they are by giving them focus. And so instead of giving your problem the focus, who's up for giving the solution the focus? Who's up for that? Right? 90% of our focus should be on the solution, and 10% can be on the problem. Evaluate the problem, feel the problem, but then shift all your energy into the solution. Because I can promise you, when you grow up to be an adult, these future leaders, humans, entrepreneurs, whatever you want to do in your life, people that can solve problems bring massive value to their organization, or their company, their team, or their family, right? Who agrees with that? Bringing forth solutions. And raise your hand if you're a parent in here, by the way. Is anyone a parent? Wouldn't you rather your kid coming forth with the solutions to their problems rather than bringing you all their problems? Who's up for that? Right? Yeah, we got a lot of parents saying hallelujah, right? And so focusing on the solution, and I also want you to write this down. 85% of your problems can be obliterated through massive action. Just taking action, just doing something about it. 85% of our problems we can destroy, we can conquer by just taking massive what? In the chat, massive what? Yeah, action. Awesome. You guys are great, playing full out. And so the next time that a problem comes or an obstacle comes, it's developing the pattern of asking yourself a better question. And that question could be, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? Or if you want to take it a step deeper, you can ask yourself, what's funny about this? Try to find the funny in every situation. And the reason why that's so important, my friends, is because our brain is thousands of years old, and it's called the survival brain. And back in the day, your brain was designed to keep you alive from a saber-toothed tiger that's coming to kill you and your family. Well, guess what? There's no more saber-toothed tiger coming to kill us. And so your brain in this day and age is designed, listen to this, your brain is designed to focus on your insecurities, to focus on the negative, and to focus on all that's not right in your life. That's how your brain is designed. And so your brain isn't designed to make you happy, fulfilled, and focus on the solution. Whose job is that to train it to do? Whose job? Us, right? We got to train our brains to do that. That's why this is our biggest superpower here, but we have to train it. And so those were the two massively important skills that my parents engraved in me at an early age. And then I got into middle school and high school. Can we agree? Who's in middle school and high school in here? Anyone? Right? How many of us agree that middle school and high school are probably the most judgmental times of our lives? Even that the people that went through it, right? Middle school and high school are tough, right? And so one of the hard things in my life was all humans crave love. All humans crave love, whether it's guy love, girl love, whatever it may be. And so we can agree that in middle school and high school, boyfriends and girlfriends are a big deal. It's kind of like a big focus. And I felt like I didn't receive the same love that all my friends were getting. And there was this specific moment. I want to share this with you. There was a specific moment where I was on the bus and there was a girl to the left of me and she was making fun of everyone on the bus. And I was like, oh man, she's going to have a field day with me. And she's making fun of everyone. And finally she got up to me and I looked to the left and I thought I was ready for what she was about to say, but I wasn't. And she looked at me and she said, Nick, I don't even have to start with you. You're already too messed up anyway. Look at you. And I'm a 14, 15-year-old kid. And so the first question that pops in my head is, why me? Has anyone ever asked themselves, why me? Why is this happening to me? Right? Take a sense of comfort. It's all of us. And so after that, I started to stack thoughts. I want you to write this down. Humans stack thoughts. You can stack thoughts in a negative way, and you can stack thoughts in a positive way. And so what I mean by that is, raise your hand if you ever woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Has anyone ever woken up on the wrong side of the bed? Right? Listen, or has anyone ever immediately woken up and looked at their phone and saw a text message, an email, or a phone call that immediately set you off wrong in the day? Has anyone ever been there? Right? Someone said, my life. Yeah, right? And so when you wake up and you get set off or you get triggered, if you're not conscious of where your focus is and your inner dialogue, your whole day can be negative. Yes or no? You got to get ready for work. You're pissed off. You're in traffic. Oh my God. You start focusing on all the negative in your life. Has anyone ever been there? That's the pattern of stacking, my friends. When one bad thing goes wrong to you, if you don't catch your focus, you'll then continue to focus on all the bad in your life. That's the pattern. And so when that girl said that to me on the bus, these are the thoughts that I would stack with. I said, well, Nick, you're disgusting. Girls don't like you because you have no legs of an arm. You'll never have a girlfriend. You'll never walk her to her locker. Is she going to want to hold your finger? Is that weird? Do you see how this pattern occurred? One thing happened to me and I started stacking my thoughts. And so I realized, like, this was one of the hardest times in my life, was trying to reframe my body, because I'm 24 years old. But for the majority of my life, I thought my body, this disability, was the biggest curse, was the most disgusting thing about me. But right now I'm going to share a technique with you, and it's called change your story, change your life. Because can we agree that we are in control of the meaning that we give events in our life? Yes or no? We are in control of the meaning that we give events in our life. And this is what I mean. A couple years later, I realized this. I said, man, my whole life I thought my body was my biggest curse, was the most disgusting thing about me. And then I had a different mindset about it. I said, wait, if a girl, let alone a human being, doesn't want to love on me because of my physical body, if someone doesn't want to build a friendship with me because of my no legs or one arm, well, wait, maybe this disability, or whatever you want to call it, is actually working for me. And it's filtering out the type of human and women that I don't want in my life anyway. How empowering is that? Throw a hand up if that's a more empowering way. Yeah, give some round of applause, right? I don't make much sound with my limbs, but I'll pretend. You know, I'm drunk with power up here. Here we go. Right? Change your story, change your what? Quick in the chat. Change your story, change your life. In that very moment, my friends, I took something my whole life that I thought was disgusting and turned it into one of my greatest gifts and one of my greatest forms of influence, because I was in control of the meaning I gave my body. Do we see that? That is a superpower. And there's a quote that I live by. It's by Nelson Mandela. Who knows Nelson Mandela? Who knows of Nelson Mandela? Yeah, right? There's a quote that I live by Nelson Mandela, and he says, in life, I don't lose. I only win or learn. Who's up for only winning or learning here? That is the superpower, right? Training your brain to always win or learn. And that's what it comes down to, the questions. Remember I said the quality of your life comes down to the quality of the questions you ask yourself on a day-to-day basis. And the reason being is because our brain is like a computer. You ask a bad question, you get a bad answer. You ask an empowering question, you get a what? empowering answer. And so in the midst of trials, tribulations, or obstacles, I want you to ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? And by you asking yourself, what can I learn from this? That's going to allow your brain to focus on all the good in that situation rather than all the bad. And I'm gonna jump ahead. I'm gonna give you another story that reaffirms this change your story, change your life. How many of people like airports in here? Anyone like flying? Anyone that doesn't like flying? We got a few people, right? And so I'm in airports a lot, right? And so I remember I was trying to catch a flight. It was Southwest Flight 244. And I'm in a wheelchair. Clearly, you know, I got my no legs of an arm thing. I'm in a wheelchair. And so my buddies roll me up to the terminal in the wheelchair. And you know what that means? I get to skip the line, right? Focus on your strengths, people. So I get to skip the line, right? And they roll me up. Yeah, we see it. And they roll me up and they roll me down into the plane. And I'm the first person in the plane. And I sat in the front row, and it was a 3-seater row, so 2 other people can have the best seats in the plane. And I remember the flight attendant saying, honey, this is going to be a full flight. I said, no worries. I already got my seat. And the plane started filling in. The plane started filling in, and people are looking at me and then looking away, or, hey, look at that guy. And over the 24 years of my life, I'm in tune with this stuff. I see it more than other people would see it. And so the plane started filling in, and no one wanted to sit next to me. And I felt things that all human beings feel, right? I felt uncomfortable in my skin. I felt like I didn't fit in. I wasn't confident. I wasn't comfortable in my body. Has anyone ever felt like this, right? Things that all human beings feel. And so the plane starts filling in, and no one wants to sit next to me. And I'm trying to be a stud, but I'm looking out the window and I'm tearing up. I'm getting pretty upset. And I had an honest conversation with myself. I said, Nick, what would you tell the adults you speak to? What would you tell the kids you speak to? Practice what you preach. What would you tell them? And I said, it's the meaning I give this event. How do I turn this loss into a W? And I said, I got it. I said, Nick, and this is me having a conversation with myself. Has anyone ever had a conversation with themselves? You know what I'm talking about. I said, Nick, you can cry all the way home. You can let this affect your week, your day, your month. Or Nick, you could celebrate the fact that you have the most leg room in this plane. Poof. Poof. Snap your fingers for me. I'll pretend. Snap your fingers. Here we go. Listen, my friends, in a snap of a second, in the snap of a finger, I took a situation that was disempowering and I changed the story and I turned that loss into a what? You guys pay a lot of money for leg room, yes or no? I got all this leg room for free. Woo! You know what I'm saying? That is the power of changing your story, change your life. We are in control of the meaning we give things. We see that? We are in control. And so there's even a technique that we can do after this call, like when you're by yourself, is you can reflect on an event in your past that you thought was a loss, that you thought was a failure. And you can ask yourself, what did I learn from that? What did I gain from that? Whether it was a different piece of knowledge, a different piece of perspective, a different way to go about life, and you extract the good out of any situation, and you win or learn. Who's up for never losing? We only win or learn, right? Yeah, hands up, Sarah. Sarah's on it. Yeah, awesome. And so I wanted to share that story. It wasn't in order of where I was going, but do we see how powerful the change your story, change your life is? Listen, we can even go a step deeper. One of my limiting beliefs, and limiting beliefs are beliefs that hold us back from achieving everything we want. Some of my limiting beliefs were, I'm not a good student. I'm not a fast learner. I don't have the legs. I'm not tall enough. I'm too young. I'm too old. You know these limiting beliefs? Has anyone ever had these? I'm too old to start that business. I'm too young. I'll always be overweight. These are called limiting beliefs. And so we can ask ourselves, what are the very beliefs in our life that are holding us back, that we need to cut off? For me, I was like, I'm not a good student, but the truth is I just learn differently. I'm a great student. I just learn differently, right? Because there's moments in our life, like when that girl made fun of me on that bus, just from that moment, I started to believe things about me that wasn't true. I thought it was disgusting. I thought that my no legs and one arm was the biggest curse. Do you see how an event in our life can happen and we can believe what they told us? Yes or no? It's happened to all of us. And so the question you can ask yourself is, what is the truth? Real quick, who's up for dropping some truth in the chat right now? I'm going to show you what to drop in. I'm going to ask you a simple question. And that question is, when you speak from your heart about yourself, who are you really? Are you compassionate? Are you a great mom? Are you a great student? Are you a great brother? Are you a great sister? Do you love people? Are you authentic? Are you transparent? Who are you really? I want you to drop it in the chat. Let's see what we got. Who's up for dropping their truth in the chat? Yeah, let's read these because these are going to be beautiful. These are going to be awesome. Look at this. God said I'm perfected, so that's the truth. Who's up for that? I always trying to find a solution to fix problems. Who's up for that? I'm emotional. I'm a good mother. Who's up for that? I'm transparent. I'm a great human being. I am perfect forever. I am the best musician. Yeah, I'm a great comforter. I'm authentic. You guys are playing full out. You're doing great. Are these beautiful? Raise the hands. Are these beautiful? Yeah, Faith said, I'm the best public speaker. That's it. Yeah, I am a scholar. I'm a world best leader. Do you guys and girls see how empowering these are? Listen, whoever typed in, whatever you typed in, I want you to keep that near dear to your heart. Because you know that voice that creeps in that says, I'm not good enough. I don't have the resources. I don't have the knowledge. I want you to remember your truth during those moments. Who you really are. Because the truth will set you free. The truth will always set you free. Who's up for that? Who's up for always reminding themselves of their truth, of who they really are on the inside? Do we see how many beautiful comments we had? I'm a great mother. I'm authentic. I'm transparent. This is one of my favorites. I care and people know it. Who cares and people know that they care? Who's in here that they care and people know they care? Right? Absolutely. You guys are great. So I just wanted to put you through that. These are kind of ways that I can interact with all of you, with all your beautiful faces while I'm going through this speech. So these were great. Thanks for playing full out. And so, wow. Sarah, how much time will keep me on time?
No, you can. Yeah, you can go ahead. You can continue if you want.
Okay,
We have a few minutes.
I have one finger. I'll end off with one more thing. Who's up for one more thing before we go into question and answer? See my little joke? You like that joke? I like it. So right now, I'm going to share with you, whether you're someone who struggles with confidence your whole life, whether you're someone who's pretty confident, and whether you're someone who mastered confidence, what I'm going to teach you in the next 5 minutes can take your confidence to the next level. And so when I got into high school, I wanted a way out. And as in a way out, I wanted a way that I could instill more confidence in me. The one thing that I was looking for my whole life was confidence. I was like, I don't have legs. I guess I wasn't born with confidence either. Like, where did this confidence thing come from? And what I've realized, my friends, they love my jokes. I see the smiles. I always put in little jokes as I go. I want you to write this down. It's extremely important. Confidence is a synonym for self-integrity. Confidence equals self-integrity. And what I mean by that is I myself, Sarah, Grace, all these amazing people in here, we're all guilty of saying we're going to do something and not following through in it. We're humans. We're not perfect, right? But the subconscious problem is, the issue that we go through is every time that I say I'm going to do something and I don't follow through in it, I actually diminish the relationship I have within myself. I diminish my self-integrity. I diminish my word. And I diminish the way that I view myself. Who sees that? And I'll paint the picture a little bit better. Say me and Sarah were going to meet up for lunch. And Sarah said, I want you to meet me at Chipotle at 6 p.m. And I said, Sarah, I'll be there. And Sarah went and I didn't show up. I didn't show up. Would that hinder the relationship I have with Sarah? Yes or no? Now, a little bit, or Sarah's very nice, so she'd probably forgive me, right? But say 3, 4, 5 times I didn't show up for lunch. How many times does it take Sarah for me to not show up to realize that I'm unreliable? Do we see that? That's the same thing that happens within our own relationship. Every time that you say you're going to do something and you don't show up for yourself, You tell yourself a little bit more that you're unreliable. Who sees that? And so how we build confidence, my friends, is we commit to something, we follow through on it, and when we follow through, we celebrate it. Because can we agree that humans don't celebrate their wins enough? Who agrees? Right? And when we celebrate, so say, like, for example, I call these things, I want you to write this down, I call these things non-negotiables. I have specific non-negotiables in my life that create momentum, that create clarity, and that build the relationship I have within myself. Some of my non-negotiables are a gallon of water a day, because I'm a bodybuilder, right? A gallon of water a day, my 45-minute workout, and some sort of stillness or meditation. Those are my non-negotiables. And every time that I follow through on my non-negotiables, I celebrate them. Because when you like my little jump up and down, I celebrate them. And when you celebrate, that rewires your brain to want to win more and to want to feel those emotions more. And so how we build confidence, my friends, is we follow through on the very things that we say we're going to do. Your non-negotiables may look different than my non-negotiables. Maybe your non-negotiables are waking up 30 minutes earlier. Maybe it's eating healthy 5 out of the 7 days. I don't know what it is for you, but the moment that we create non-negotiables and we follow through on them, you will experience more self-worth, more confidence, and more momentum. Because can we agree that humans love the feeling of progress? Yes or no? Don't we love the feeling of moving forward? Right? I love progress. I love the feeling of moving forward. And so maybe today, when we leave here, you create some of your personal non-negotiables. Because when you follow through in the things that you say you're going to do, that translates into self-worth. One of the biggest patterns I see, speaking to thousands of people just like you, is they struggle with self-worth. And that self-worth translates into worthy of success, worthy of the weight loss, worthy of the relationships, worthy of the abundance. Confidence equals self-worth. And so if we can build that confidence muscle, you got to look at confidence as a muscle. You can't just go into the gym for a week and expect to be in shape for life. I wish. I'd have a very easy career in bodybuilding. And so that's the same thing with your mental muscle, and that's the same thing with your confidence muscle. The training never stops. And would you agree that there's always a higher level in life to play at? Would you agree? So with that being said, my friends, the one thing I want to end off before we go into question and answer, and you may have saw the quote, over the 24 years of my life, I realized it's not the physical body that holds us back, but the biggest disability you can have, is a bad mindset. This is either your biggest disability or your biggest superpower. And take a sense of comfort in that the training never stops and we're always growing. We're always constantly re-improving our mind, whether you're 50, 12, 14, the training never stops, and we're all on this journey together to craft our biggest superpower. Let's go into some question and answer, shall we?
Yeah, wow. Thank you so much, Nick. That was very deep and inspiring. So let us jump to the questions right away. I did see our first question. Let's go to Tef, if you can unmute yourself and ask the question away.
Hi, Nick.
Hello.
So good to meet you. So is it just one question, or can I ask two? Can it be part
Can
A?
ask however many. Yeah, sure.
Okay, so the first one is like, what can you tell someone who lacks the motivation to overcome their mindset, especially if their circumstances are difficult?
It's a great question. And I think, and like this is my opinion, right? This is my answer is go back to why you want to better yourself, or go back to why you want to pursue that career. Like, really, what's your why? Because there's a great quote by my mentor, Tony. He says, when your why is big enough, the how will reveal itself. And what I mean by that is, like, what's your ultimate driving force in your life? For me, one of my ultimate driving forces in my life is my parents. I want to spoil my parents. I want to give them a life like they gave for me. And so I'm reminded of my why in the moments of when I don't want to do things, right? Because we all have things that we don't want to do on a day-to-day basis, yes or no? But I always remind myself of my why. I see a picture of my family. Or another thing that I do, and listen, there's two reasons why people change or they constantly grow. It's either pain or pleasure. And a lot of the times pain is the more thing that gives us leverage. But one of the things that I do is I don't have kids, but I envision like my future kids saying, Dad, you know, like, what happened? You used to be in shape. Or Dad, what happened? You used to be the greatest public speaker the world's ever seen. Like, what happened? And that like makes me feel some sort of way inside. Like you can visualize like your kid being disappointed in you. But to wrap up the question, Tef, is really when you discover your ultimate driving force, that'll be the thing that gets you out of bed when you don't want to get out of bed. And the fun fact about it is the majority of the world doesn't know their driving force. They don't know why they go to work. They just go through the motions. How many of us have gone through the motions for a month, a couple months, a year, and don't really know why we're doing it? So really the most empowering thing is discovering your ultimate driving force of why you do what you do. Maybe for you is you want to provide financial freedom to your kids. Maybe for you, it's you want to go on that trip to Vegas or that trip to France. Or maybe for you, it's you want to spoil your parents. I don't know what it is, but when you discover your ultimate driving force of why it's important for you to better yourself, that'll be some leverage for you to, you know, do the things that we don't want to do. And so to wrap it up, there's two forms of motivation. There's push and there's pull. When you're pushing and pushing and pushing, we get burnt out. Yes or no? How many of us have ever gotten burnt out in our work? But when you pull, when you have a vision, when you have a why that pulls you to your goals, that's a different force of motivation. Do we see that? Thanks for the question. Was there another one?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, what is your process on training your mind when you get like 1,000 negative thoughts a day?
Yeah, when you stack, right? Basically when you stack. One of the biggest things that you can do, which is hard to do, you're not going to want to do it in the moment, but to reflect on some sort of moments that you're grateful for or some sort of moments you're appreciative of and fill up with that emotion. And the reason why I say that is most people think gratitude's like unicorns and fairy dust, but it's really not. Gratitude, the emotion of gratitude actually outweighs all the negative emotions. And so it's actually emotionally impossible for you to feel grateful and sad, grateful and stressed, grateful and full of anxiety at the same time. That emotion of gratitude outweighs all the negative emotions. And so in those moments, you got to switch your focus. It's a focus thing, right? Because what you focus on then leads to an emotion. That emotion then leads to an action. So focus is basically the foundation of life. And so if you can veer your focus to, what am I grateful for? What do I have in my life that's amazing? What am I appreciative of? What are my wins this week? You got to go to the good stuff. Because listen, like I said in the beginning, what's not great in your life is always available. And what's great in your life is always available. But it's our choice of what we focus on, right? Great question, Tef. These are great questions.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you. That was a really good question and great answer, of course. So we don't have that much time left. We'll go to our last question. So let's go to Zen. So Zen, if you can, ask away your question.
Hey, Zen.
So my question is, you mentioned that you focus on your strengths, which I totally agree. So then I would want to ask, how would you go about battling your weaknesses or addressing them without running away from or being complacent about them, like you don't see it?
That's a great question, brother. Great question. And so what I would suggest then is, we double down on our strengths, right? We put ourselves where we excel. So for example, I'm not very good at math and numbers. You're not going to put Nick where he has to do the math and numbers of the company, right? So I think an amazing leader puts people where they excel. And so first thing, dude, you're self-aware of your weaknesses. That's the first part. Most people aren't willing to, accept that they have weaknesses. They want to be perfect, right? So that's the first step. That's a win. You're self-aware of your weaknesses. Now, when you get into entrepreneurship or whatever it may be, whether it's a company, you want to outsource your weaknesses, the things that you're not very good at, or find someone who's really good at it and learn from them because they are going to expedite the process for you. One of the biggest skills that I've acquired is modeling those who have the results that I want. Success leaves clues, right? So if there's someone who's very good at your weaknesses, you can either put them in that place so they can do that job, you delegate it, right? Or you learn from them because they are going to condense decades into years. You see that? Who's up for condensing decades into years, by the way, right? And so, my friend, first win that you should celebrate is you're self-aware of your weaknesses and you're authentic and transparent enough to let yourself know you have weaknesses. Now, the second thing you do, you can either learn from someone that's their strength to expedite the process, or you put someone who your weaknesses is their strengths, so they excel. Does that make sense? That was a great question.
Awesome.
Real quick, Sarah, before we end off.
Yeah,
How many-
go ahead.
Because I saw this is in multiple language. How many speak Mandarin here? Is anyone? Yeah. I just know I toured China a little bit, so I know a little bit of Mandarin. So like I got my Shisha Nimen, Wo Ai Nimen, like
Wow.
that, or how would it go like this? It'd be like World Camp the Pengyamen Nimen Hao, Wo Shu Nika Shundo Shu. So my name is Nika. Yeah, we got some Chinese in the chat. Nice. I just wanted to practice my Mandarin a little bit here.
Great. Everyone, let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Nick, for joining us once again for the second session. And thank you all for coming, everyone. So this is how
you got it. Thanks for having me again.
Awesome. Thank you. We hope to see you soon in person.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.